Nelson Van of the Supreme Love Missionary Baptist Church, followed by Pledge of Allegiance by Robert Lee High School ROTC.
Let's pray. Gracious and Heavenly Father, we give you honor, we give you glory on today, Lord God. I thank you for your hand being upon our lives. Thank you, Father God, for your continuous grace and mercy. The Holy Spirit is welcome in this place tonight, Lord God. Thank you. Father, we lift up our leaders, our educational leaders, board members, and staff, Lord God. Thanking you for them right now, for you have anointed them for such a time as this, these defining moments in public education. We thank you for their nurturing and caring for our young citizens, Lord God, and their proper education. We thank you, Father God. We ask now in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that you would govern our minds accordingly on tonight. Doing things are acceptable in your sight. Father God, may we continue to always walk with you, knowing that with you with us, we can walk in strength and in good courage. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors and the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance for Robert E. Lee High School award-winning JRTC Color Guard.
Color, pace, color guard, hope, precinct, colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Order. Color. Right. Pace. Hope. Hurts.
You may be seated.
Many thanks to Pastor Nelson Bain as well as the Robert E. Lee ROTC. At this moment, we do have a quorum in place with all members in attendance. At this time, we'd like to have a motion for the approval of the revised agenda.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the revised agenda for Tuesday, August 28th.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we adopt the revised agenda as printed. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. Goes unanimous. First item on the agenda is recognitions by Mr. Tom Salter.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members, and guests. Thank you for being here tonight. This evening, we have several of our advanced ed bases covered as we celebrate students, a PTSA organization, and an educator, and share this information with our community. First up, we have Carver High School student who, along with a classmate, represented MPS well at a national conference. Will Leandria Brooks please join us? Come on in. Oh, 4 medals. Isn't that wonderful? And LaShondra Brooks, her teacher, and also, is Mr. Hall here? Is Gary Bennett? No, we don't have Gary. Okay. Well, LaShondra and her classmate, Kiona Hooks, is Kiona here with us? No? Okay. Okay. They both won silver medals at the FCCLA National Leadership Conference in Atlanta. Kiona was not able to make it because she left town this past weekend to begin attending UAB. I understand, though, that her grandparents were going to try to make it this evening. Are they here with us? Oh, grandma. Okay, wonderful. Well, in case you haven't heard of it, FCCLA is the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America organization. Now I know why they shortened it to FCCLA. Leandra and Kiona placed in the top 2 in the state competition to qualify for the national competition. Kiona has competed on the state and national level for the past 4 years and has won 1 gold and 3 silver medals. And this is Leandra's first year competing in the junior division. Let's all congratulate these students for their great accomplishment. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Nice work. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have an exciting announcement about a PTA, or a PTSA, I guess, is going above and beyond for the school and the community. Will the members of the Sidney Lanier High School PTSA please join us, along with Principal Antonio Williams? Come on down. There he is. The Lanier PTSA received the prestigious distinction of being the 2018-2020 National PTA School of Excellence. This award is given to schools that identify an action plan for school improvement and then go on to show that they have actually improved. The distinction includes a $2,000 grant for the school, and it's really fantastic recognition for this PTSA. They've been doing outstanding work for such a long time. It's nice to get a pat on the back, and the $2,000 didn't hurt either, did it? Let's give them a great big round of applause. Dr. Williams, have you spent the money yet?
Not yet, but we're not.
Okay, all right, good. All right, well, thanks so much. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, sir. Next up, we have another award winner. Will Steve Blair please come and join us? Oh, there he is. Okay. Steve is the administrator of the virtual school program at MPS, which he has overseen as it continues to grow each and every year. Now the Alabama State Department of Education has recognized the great job he's been doing by naming him the Access Administrator of the Year. The virtual learning program is a vital resource for students who have medical, social, or other barriers to success in the traditional classroom. It's also just a way for a kid to accelerate his learning. Isn't that right, Steve? Well, Steve does a great job. He's also a soccer fan, and he was born in England. Is there anything else you want me to tell you about Steve? I know. Congratulations, Steve. Great job. Join the board. Next, I'd like to just take a minute to do, and later we'll do something more in depth. But I want to publicly recognize a few of the people who've worked tirelessly and moving quickly to take care of 411 students and 50 staff members when Building C of Booker T. Washington burned down. First, Dr. Ann Roy Moore, who led the team to a decision in just a few minutes on that Saturday morning while Building C was still burning. To Chad Anderson, who was on his second day on the job, God bless you, and he was sitting right there with us at 4:30 that Saturday morning. To Lee McKenzie, Dr. Darrell Boswell, Bobby Crew, Tim Chunley, and the teams who put in 18-hour days to get the work done to make BTW at Hayneville Road a reality. To the hundreds of volunteers, including Dr. Moore, Kim Pitts, Lisa Dotson, and many other central office staff who helped to pull staples out of the walls and out of the door. Dr. Moore said that if anybody brings her PO for staples, she's going to turn it down because there's so many staples over there. We also had hundreds of students and others who helped spread more than 150 gallons of paint on that building. To the businesses that donated so much time and material, including, and this is just a few, Home Depot, Lowe's, Surf Pro, Capital City Glass, Cannon Custodial Services, Alabama State University, Troy University, Auburn Montgomery, and many others that are just too numerous to name right now. To the churches, including Aldersgate United Methodist, Hutchison Street, Fraser, and Macedonia, and so many other churches brought volunteers and things To the community members, students, and parents from many schools who brought water and snacks to the workers and raised money to help replace the items lost in the fire. To the first responders for Montgomery Fire and Police who worked to limit the damage. To the board members who offered their support and time. And a big pat on the back goes to BTW Principal Dr. Quasia Starks, who was calm and in control in a situation where mere mortals would have crawled in a corner and cried. Dr. Starks is leading tonight. She's leading her church choir that she neglected for the last week or so while she's been busy, so she couldn't be with us tonight. Dr. Starks did, though, send me a video this morning. It's less than 2 minutes long, and she said it was a thank you note to everyone who helped a look at the first day at BTW at Haymel Road, shot by a BTW alumnus.
Find our way back home.
Just a week ago, that was an empty school, and now it's a very functioning school.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Tom. At this time, the next item on the agenda, we schedule public comments. And here are the rules and procedures for public participation in board meetings. Requests must be made in advance in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 p.m. on the Tuesday preceding the meeting date. Requests must have specified the nature of the business to be taken up with the board and the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific student or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or designee. Public comments must not exceed 5 minutes. The board chair has full authority to terminate the remarks of any person whose comments containing personal attacks exceed the time limit or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended, when asked to stop speaking by the board chair, or is otherwise inappropriate. If a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat out of the auditorium in or off MPS property, depending on the level of disruption. First person on the public comments to speak will be Ms. Alicia Purnell, school closings. Ms. Alicia Purnell? Nothing? Okay, next, Ms. K.T. Brown, our children.
I would like to say hello to everyone in the new year that we're going into. I would like to thank the superintendent for the article that was placed in the paper. I read it, I talked about it within the community, and they are all waiting to see that we do something about the misbehavior. As I go and think about the things that have been done for BTW, with the fire that destroyed the C building, I am so proud that the community came out and did what they did and helped us and supported us. I wish they would support us like that in everything that we need within our school system. I have received a lot of communications on other things also, and I'm bringing them to you tonight so that you will know that you need to get these things done as we go into the new system and deal not only with the magnet program, but with the traditional program. I had a person come to me that is a substitute and other substitutes with that person, and they said that you don't have lesson plans for the substitutes as they come in and take over the classes, and that they do need these lesson plans because as it is, they are having to prepare something for the students that the students haven't gone over, and neither have they. So we are asking also, go into these schools and look and see what is needed. There are a lot of things needed in our traditional schools. One school I went into, it is leaking, and the children get off the bus and walk in through that water. They don't have smart boards. They don't have cooperation with the coach in what he or she is trying to do at the school, working with the students. And I wanted to answer one question that the superintendent had in the paper. The reason why some of the students are cutting up is the fact that they don't understand, they're not accepting of the way that they are treated, of the way that they don't have counselor services. I think I've talked to you about that before. You need a counselor for those students coming from Head Start. You need a counselor for those students who are entering school for the first time. They need a special counselor to work with them so they understand what is expected of them as they enter that school. You need a counselor for the 6th grade as that 6th grader enters into middle school. You need a counselor for that 9th grade as that 9th grader enters senior high school. When they get in that school and they see what is going on with the ones that are misbehaving, they start behaving also. You need to work with the teachers who don't know what they're supposed to be teaching. You need to work with those schools where you find the students all congregated in the hall. They're not going into the classroom. I stood in the hall and threw my hands up and told them to stop cursing at one school, at one senior high school, because they had no respect for the teachers standing in the door. We need to get the teachers back to understanding what it is you need to do when that student set foot on your campus. Stop talking about what the parent ain't doing. Talk about what you need to do to help these children. As I went to one school and the boy was kissing the girl so he had her over the banister. I went in and told the security guard, please go out there before something happens. We need supervision from those people, and as I asked you before, please ask the person you're interviewing to become one of the personnel, do you like students? Do you like children? If you don't like children, there's nothing you can do with the children. There's nothing you can do. And because of these things, they said that you have a lot of substitutes in the school. We need to come up with some rules and regulations that can work on getting these teachers to come to school. They may be scared to come, but they've got to come if they've signed on as a teacher. We've got to place people on, these committees that you make up and go out and come in with decisions and things like that pertaining to the school. Put some people on those committees that's not your friend or family. Put some members from the community, not me, don't put me on anything. But put some people on those committees that are working in the community. And if that's my time,
to make a comment. KT, Ms. Brown, thank you for saying that. I'd like to add, put the board members on some of these committees, okay? Because we haven't been on one. And I guess because of the change of hands, we were told in the last group that we were gonna be on one. But I totally agree with you, and I thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Please, line number 2.
Next individual we have is Mr. Tom Ringenberg, Arboretum.
Most of you don't know me, but from September 2015 until June 2017, I worked with Miss Cindy McKenzie at the MPS Arboretum. During that time, I helped teach a lot of students and adults about nature. When I learned that my position would be non-renewed and the Arboretum was being closed following Miss McKenzie's retirement last December, I was, to say the least, extremely disappointed, not only for the loss of the job that I loved, but for the loss that it was to the students. Today's youth are spending more time on electronic device and less time outside playing and connecting with nature the way many of us once did. Studies show that children who spend more time outside in natural areas experience better physical, mental, and emotional health. Better physical health means children missing less school than able to sustain injury. Better mental and emotional health can lead to fewer behavioral issues, meaning teachers have to spend less time correcting such behavior, making a better learning environment for all, which can possibly lead to higher test scores, and why would we want to encourage that? In addition to the third grade field trip, the Arboretum can also serve as an outdoor lab for all grades in a variety of subjects, including science, math, history, and even music and art, just to name a few. Besides teaching life skills, the Arboretum also encourages family bonding. One example that I can give of this is one day, a grandfather came with his grandchild on a day that was teaching fishing. He wanted to be able to help his grandchild with fishing pole, but he told me that he had only ever used a cane pole and had no idea how to use a cast rod. So at that moment, an approximately 90-year-old man becomes a student. And I have to teach both grandchild and grandfather how to use a casting rod, hopefully helping create a memory that will last both the rest of their lives. In another instance, at the end of the day, the students are getting back on the bus, and a student comes up to us and asks us, "Do you think my dad would take me fishing now that I've learned how?" My title at the Arboretum was Labor 3, but that title was very misleading as to what I actually did. While I did do a lot of things that laborers typically do, I also helped to develop curriculum and to teach. In fact, the main reason why Ms. McKenzie hired me in the first place was she wanted someone who had my background and could help with the outdoor education program. I currently hold a bachelor's degree in fisheries and wildlife management. Prior to working at the Arboretum, I worked for Alabama Wildlife Freshwater Fisheries for 9.5 years as a biologist aide. Over the years, I've also been a naturalist and have even been a substitute teacher. So as you can see, I am no stranger to outdoor education, and I'm quite capable of doing an outdoor education program. All that being said, with all that's been in the media regarding the state intervention, I'm well aware of the budget issues that MPS is facing. However, I'm confident that with a little creativity, alternate sources of funding, materials, and labor can be found. In fact, I have already considered several sources of volunteers and donations. I know that if the Arboretum is reopened, we can once again count on the support of Alabama Wildlife Freshwater Fisheries, which is represented here today by Mr. Doug Dar, Aquatic Education Coordinator for the fishing section. Mr. Dar was the reason why we had fishing poles on loan for the children to use as long as the Arboretum remained open. He also helped with teaching when he was available. I also know that we could once again count on the support of Alabama Cooperative Extension Service, AUM, Fraser United Methodist Church, and others. New supporters, the Girl Scouts, Centerpoint Church, and Trail Life USA have already expressed interest in helping. I would want to build a network of volunteers by reaching out to various youth organizations, churches, garden clubs, and whatever. I would also like to do more to generate community awareness. There are many in the community who don't even know that the Arboretum existed in the first place, much less what we did. Of those that did know of this, many thought we were a city park rather and had no idea that we were part of the public school system. So how can we expect community support if people don't even know we're there? While it was not at all uncommon for people to drive in just curious as to what the place was, and we were all too happy to tell them. MPS students deserve a place like the Arboretum, and I would hope that it could be a model for other districts to copy. I only wish that my school up in Ohio had something like the Arboretum when I was growing up. It will not be easy, but if we work together, I am confident we can come up with a solution that keeps this facility available for future generations to come.
Thank you, Mr. Ringberg. I believe I spoke to you last year, and I believe Dr. Moore has some good news for you, so just listen for a moment. She's going to share with you some information.
Thank you for coming and for making your comments. So I got with Mr. McKenzie when I first got here, I guess maybe
as officially as the superintendent. And we went out and visited the Arboretum, and I really actually fell in love with it because I love the outdoor piece of it. And so what we're doing, I've tasked Christy Hatch, who is our science person, with the job of coming up with a curriculum that deals with outdoor education and environmental ed, so that we can use the Arboretum as well as other environmental kinds of things within the area, so that we can expose our students to those. And so we have not given it away or let it go. We do plan to keep it, and we're going to develop a curriculum and some activities with the input of people like you that would allow us to continue to give our students those opportunities. And thank you very much.
And Mr. McKenzie, I want to thank you. You contacted me a couple of times on this.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes, Mr. And I talked to Ms. McKenzie. And I want to thank Superintendent Moore for going out there. I talked to her myself last week, and she is a tree person, loves that out there. Some of my students actually went out there. They were psychology students from Lee. And I hope that you get to be a part of it, because I think from what Ms. McKenzie said about you, you were there all the time. And it means a lot to have instructors like yourself that actually take the time to be there and come in here and stand up for it. So thank you.
Mr. David Thomas, baseball and soccer.
No,
He has
He
not,
did.
he
He did.
has been sponsored.
Good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me to come again and speak on behalf of baseball, softball proposal placed into the middle school here in Montgomery County. The committee came up with the idea of having baseball and softball in middle school with a proposal before the Montgomery Board of Education last August 22nd, 2017. After presented to the board, the chairman of the board, Mr. Porterfield, said the superintendent, Dr. Reginald Egerton, would get back with us shortly. After about 2 weeks, I communicated with the board chair. He said that he would arrange a meeting for the committee to meet with the athletic director, Mr. William Graham Dean. The committee met with Mr. Dean, and he did not support the idea of having softball being played in the middle school. The committee proceeded to meet with Superintendent Dr. Egerton. After 2 meetings, the superintendent had agreed that baseball and softball be implemented into the middle school. You can refer to page 2 in the document. He instructed Mr. Dean to inform all of the middle school principals. Okay. The committee, along with the superintendent and athletic director, agreed that an account would be set up with a $100 bill presented from Reverend Dr. Claudia Shooter, Executive Chief of Staff in Alabama, Florida District of the AME Zion Church. The account was never set up. You can refer to page 3 in the document in the folder. At this time, the committee felt, out of due respect, that we would get an appointment with the new superintendent, Dr. Moore. She referred the request to the new athletic director, Dr. Patrick Finnerson. We met with him on July the 27th, and he had reservations as to how it would be sustained. You can see document 4. However, he said he will get with Mr. Dean, the finance officer, and the superintendent, and get back to me. On August 25th, I had not heard from Dr. Finnerson, so I called him. He informed me that the superintendent said it is not feasible for it to take place at this time. I asked him if the superintendent gave a reason. He said no. MPS is one of the few school systems in the state of Alabama that do not have baseball and softball in the middle school. All other sports are there. All of them are there, but baseball and softball is not in MPS middle school. From the beginning, when we came up with this idea, we agreed that we would solicit funds to make this happen. We've gotten positive endorsement from local churches, colleges, businesses, the Montgomery Biscuit organization, the Atlanta Braves and coaches, the City of Montgomery Department of Recreation. They agreed to share their facility. Senator David Burkett, Coach David Burkett, remember, he's a part of this committee, and other elected officials have pledged their support. So again, please, board, endorse this. Endorse this. We are going to make it happen. A lot of these big-time business people like the Atlanta Braves, the Montgomery Biscuit, they just wait on the endorsement. And I don't see where we can lose. It's all about our kids. Baseball and softball take place at the time of the year when basketball and football is over. This is the only sport that's going on during that time of the year. Then I heard that, well, baseball and softball, they don't generate any funds. I've coached on the junior high level for about 20 years. Soccer doesn't bring in funds. Volleyball doesn't bring it in. Only two that brings in money really is football and basketball. So we can't use that as an excuse why we won't have it. The biggest thing is the endorsement. That's what we ask it for, to endorse it. Other means to get funds, there are RBI. That doesn't stand for Run Battle, it stands for Revive Inner City Baseball. Baseball Tomorrow Fund. There are many grants out there that will support this. Please, give this your consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Porter, as a former coach in the school system, I don't see how we as a board could sit. I thought last year we endorsed this.
I did too.
And I thought that things were being put together, but you know, there was a change and all of that. But the students that we are losing the most are our middle school students. And I know as a coach, it means a lot to the students in middle school to have something to do between those breaks. And if we fund some of all these other things that we fund, and they're not asking us for funding, they're asking us to just endorse the program. So how could we sit here as board members and knowing the problems that we have when they close the community centers and all of that, that put a lot of our students out on the street. So if we're really concerned in the whole child, not just reading, writing, and math, if we are concerned about the whole child, I don't see what the big problem is to not endorse this program. And they're not asking us for finance, they're just asking us to support the program. So I don't see what the big deal is, and when we talked about this before, I thought we endorsed it. So I don't know what happened from the time Dr. Eggleston was here and the time that Dr. Moore is here, that we're having all these convoluted things happening with this program. We need something like this for the boys and girls in middle school. So if we are sincere about our children and doing something for them, this should be a gimme to do this kind of thing. And I, as a board member and a former coach, I just don't see us not supporting this simply by endorsing it. They're not asking us to finance this program. They got a lot of financial help, and we finance other things. I don't see why we couldn't do something about it, but maybe it's because I was a coach that I see the importance of this. But if we want to educate the whole child, we are going to have to get more involved in what's going on in the classroom.
I have 5 checks that I could have brought today from various organizations that have already presented the check. Already. It's baffling why we won't. So please, do. say, you may say, the least of these, the least of us. That's who it mostly affects.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mr. Porterfield, if I may, I would have to agree with Ms. Briers on that. I married a baseball player that played from a little boy all the way up through college. And so I know the importance of it. It's kind of, it played into the character of who he is. My son played baseball. My son also plays tennis, which is another sport that's not heavily funded, but it is an opportunity for children to, one, get exposed to things that they've never had a chance to be exposed. And to Ms. Breyer's point, it really is closing that opportunity gap. It's giving them an opportunity to play baseball because they don't know that you can go from baseball playing in high school to playing in the major league. And so you don't have to kind of get hit and tackled in football and playing through high school and college. You can go from high school to the pros, and I learned that from my husband. I'm like Ms. Briers, I don't see the problem with it, so I'm in full support of it too as a board member.
I have to say one thing. Is that okay, Mr. Porterfield?
Everybody else?
Okay,
is? I
thank
don't
you.
see anything wrong.
We're in the South, and it is baseball. I married a baseball player. In fact, he was the fourth batter, which is your cleanup hitter. And the only thing I would caution on, I do want to share this with you, and I meant to share it when we talked before. And this is just, you had my endorsement, I think all of ours last year, you still have it this year. But I did have parents that obviously are taking advantage of moving from the middle school and going over to your high schools to play baseball. You must have one or two. And maybe one. And the complaint was the music. And it's not just music, it's the type of music. It's bad language music. And they called me complaining about it. My son, who is, plays for a much higher, whatever, he's in his 20s. I went out to Lagoon and they were playing that kind of music and I was like, oh my God. Not that I'm too good for it, but some of that music, just talk to some of your coaches some of that stuff, it's just the language. That's the only thing I'm cautioning on.
Well, I hate to say, music shouldn't be a barrier to allow these students.
The F and the P and all that kind of stuff is a big barrier.
We can certainly address that, and I'm sure you guys would
Huge
handle
barrier.
that type of music, in that type of environment, you wouldn't have that. But I
Mr.
thought,
President.
as Mayor had stated earlier, as well as Erica, I thought we had endorsed this last year, we were moving forward this year with it.
Well, we did.
I wanted to
The
find-
letter,
You're finished.
justified that. The letter justified that.
We're looking at I said, see here where we got startup costs of $5,000, is that for each school?
Yes, it's in the folder.
Yeah.
Parking cost for each school will be about $5,000.
Are we going to be able to get some kind of support to help with that funding?
When we endorse it, when it get endorsed,
Then the money will start coming in.
it will,
Oh, my
we
God.
had a blockage with the
Okay.
money with the account being set up. It's on number 2. And we agreed that
Is
the
there-
money will be sent directly to the finance office, but it went through a standstill. It's in the folder right there, went through a standstill.
Dr. Moore, is there anything, what we can do to address that account being set up? Maybe get funds in it to support this?
Mr. Chairman, I want to remind you from your guidelines and your rules that you issued early, that we would not be taking an action on comments
Oh, okay,
tonight.
you're right.
Okay?
Okay, would you get back with him then? I will. Thank you.
Well, I want to go on record as saying that we have endorsed them already, we're endorsing them again, so it won't get lost in the paperwork.
Is there paperwork that needs to be done to show a complete endorsement by the board?
I think, let me just say this as a comment. I'm just looking at all the documents. I've never seen them before, for the most part. But, so I did read them really quickly. So, typically, what you would have happen is that those people who want to make donations, make those donations for a particular event, which would be this one in this case. And then that gives the system some credence to know that this is actually going to happen. A lot of times, a system will start something with the voluntary funds, and they come a little bit, and then they don't continue, and so the system has to absorb that cost. in our present condition of intervention, one of the areas we have to address is the area of finance. And so what we're saying is that how fruitful would it be for us under intervention at this time dealing with finance when we haven't gotten to where we can come from under that piece to step out and do something else that we are not fully guaranteed that we will continue the support. It's kind of like volunteers in the school. They come for a while and then they stop coming. So you can't really say it's going to happen. So I think under intervention with finance being a biggie on that if people are going to donate, that they go on and make it a guaranteed donation so that we know that this is enough to carry us down the road a piece, because the system will not be able to go back and pay the $5,000 startup and the head coach stipend of $1,500 and the assistant of $5,000. So there's no guarantee. I think, and this is my opinion as a superintendent, and in dealing with the finance people and knowing that we're under intervention for finance, that to take it on right now as something that's not guaranteed may not be the wisest thing for us to do. I don't disagree with the sport itself. I don't disagree with that at all. But under the conditions from which we're operating, I think we have to be very careful about how we do that.
Yes, go ahead, sir. We got to end this.
And I also wonder how much money was put in the account already. And I personally went through the various protocol and checked it to see how the money can be sent. I personally came to the finance office and talked to people that didn't know anything about it, but just last week, this surfaced right here. Just think about how much money could have been in the account. And I personally asked, how would the money get there? And this was earmarked for baseball, softball.
We need a sustainable fund source, and I'm not again disagreeing with you, but if it's sustainable and we can continue it without having to depend on the system having to pick up that funding source, then that might be a possibility. But right now, we don't have a sustainable source. And I would say too, and just for additional reference, and I'll be quiet, is that if people really want to, it's like if somebody says they're gonna donate something to you, they go ahead and donate it, and then that gives credence to the idea of having a sustainable source so that you can continue with that program. I would hate to start it and then have to tell students that we can't because we can't fund it and the donations are no longer coming in.
We can get donations.
Mr. Chairman, let's go to the next item on the agenda, please.
Okay.
Let me know when I have to get the money.
Okay. There are none listed for the citizens' comment. Under 7, we receive as information, Children's Center lease agreement. Dr. Moore.
Okay, thank you. So many of you already are aware of the Children's Center. That's where we have some of our special needs students who are in many ways severely incapacitated. And so prior to my coming here and prior to, I guess going back many, many years, we've had an agreement with the Children's Center to give them a certain amount of money every year to use that facility. So this is a more formal kind of an agreement. It is a lease agreement where we will be able to use their facility and use their equipment, which is pretty high volume and expensive kinds of equipment, and for the sum of $92,000 a year, we would be leasing this building from them. If we did not use their facility, then we would have to figure out a way to go out and get our own facility and equip it fully, and so for the price, we would not be able to do that. And our students are already used to that accommodation, and we address the needs of many of our students that we have to, in many cases, keep until they're 21. So that's what that lease agreement is about, to formalize it.
Next item on the agenda will be the MPS Emergency Declaration, BTW Magna High. Dr. Adams?
Okay, so you know that, and I'll ask Mr. Rudolph, if he doesn't mind, he can chime in. But whenever there's an emergency, we had one, I guess in the last few months, we had the flood, and now we've had the fire, two pretty serious kinds of things, and we had to kind of get busy on trying to make those repairs. And so under that emergency, there has to be a declaration declared, which has been done, and that is why we were able to quickly move to start doing work so that we can get BTW, or could get BTW into another location rapidly, so that the students only missed 1 week. So this is the formal letter, and we want you to be aware that this has been done and signed off on so that we can move forward quickly.
Okay, thank you. Next item will be the Alabama Trust for Board Education, the automobile renewal FY 2018-19. Dr. Moore?
Okay, so this has to do with our liability insurance, the ATBE GL/EO liability fund for superintendents and others to agree to for a particular school district. Mr. Rudolph, would you like to add to this piece about it? Are we good? Okay. And okay.
The next item will be again the Alabama Trust Fund for Boards of Education. Once again, the liability renewal,
Right.
FY 2018.
So
Just
this,
the automobile
yeah,
renewal.
this is basically as
Same.
stated. This is, yes.
Next item, E, Board Member Dirk Dean's resignation. Dr. Moore?
Okay, so, you all got the notice that, Mr. Dean has, resigned from his position, effective, yesterday. So our board policy states that, we have 48 hours from the date of notification before we can place someone else in Mr. Dean's place. So that would be tomorrow morning at 10:57. However, you have a month as a board where you can make a decision about the person that you would like to replace Mr. Dean. So we don't have to do it tonight or tomorrow. You can take a little time to think about it. If it's not done within a month, then the state superintendent, as I understand it, could put someone in that place. So you have 30 days in which you can, as a board, make a decision about a replacement for Mr. Dean.
Thank you, Doctor. I think we're going to move a little swifter than that. Go ahead, Mary.
Mr. President, I'm looking at the school district organization code, as she said, and filling an unexpired term. And if you look at section 16-8-6, school code 1927, there is a law that controls the board members' vacancies. And with that being 48 hours, at the appropriate time, which would be item P under consider for approval, I would like for us at that time to move that we have a meeting on Friday, and the board members can decide what time, and everybody have someone that they have vetted or whatever to come back to this meeting on Friday, because you know we are under intervention. We know we have to have a report and to educate. And I would feel that District 2 is underrepresented. We have some people vying for that position, but they would not come on board until November. So with that being said, I would like to do that under P, under consider for approval, because you will have to notice the public, and we would be within the 48 hours. So, and we know that we have had situations where the state superintendent stepped in because he said we didn't do it in ample time. So I think we don't want to get caught with this.
Yeah. Could we just have Tom to just make notice that we will have a meeting noon Friday?
Well,
Is
it
that
might not be
good
the
with everybody?
consensus of this board.
Is that
so
good?
Let's just wait until,
So you want P, so we'll vote on the
we'll
meeting?
vote on the meeting.
Okay.
And we would make that P under consider for approval because we have to agree that we want to do this on Friday.
And do you want to say noon?
Noon
Uh,
Friday?
Noon Friday.
Okay.
But
So you're
we'll have-
talking
we'll
August
still have to do-
31st?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that way, that person will be
able to
in for the
participate in
meetings
the,
and all of that.
and he'll be able
Yeah.
to participate in
Yeah.
our work session next week. CLE.
And everybody on the board will have ample time and not say, you did this, without anybody talking about it. Just be thinking about
Okay.
someone that's been vetted already.
Okay. Is that okay? Let's move forward.
And I gave you, the superintendent, and Leslie a copy
Yeah, I
of
have.
our code and the state.
Well, certainly Friday would be,
Okay.
have 48 hours passed. BTW relocation due to fire, Dr. Moore and Lee McKenzie. Is it Dr. Moore?
Okay, well, Lee is here. I'm not sure if he wants to speak, but he's done I would say, a yeoman's job of pulling it all together.
Oh,
I think he deserves some round of applause.
Oh, yeah,
actually.
he did.
Good evening. I can't take all the credit. We had a great team. Everybody, the board, superintendent, all our staff came together like I've been here 20 years. First time I've seen it. We all pulled together and pulled something out that we can be proud of. So,
I just want to thank you for the great job you guys did in getting it back up and running. You really doing a great job out there. Looked like a new building out there when you walk through the halls.
I told Dr. Starks this morning, I said, of all the schools that we've opened, and involved in every one of them, this was the smoothest one we've ever transitioned.
Right. Well, we certainly appreciate all your efforts. Thank you very much. Next item, the Central Alabama Metal and Roof. You still up?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, we tried to patch the roof at Houston Hill repeatedly. It's at its end of its lifespan. So we have a successful bidder of $343,500 to
343.
Yes, sir.
So will it be a metal roof?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Just checking.
I think the money would
That
go
would
up
be
there.
smart.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. All right, the Rehab and Associates, Dr. Patrick Henderson.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Jackson Hospital has agreed to provide $150,000 sponsorship while athletic training. In return, it will cost the system $135,000. We don't actually have to pay that. They will be in sponsor everything. The difference in $135,000 and $150,000, which will be $15,000, will go back into the high school. Again, this is a sponsorship for all of our athletic venues. Their main goal is to provide sponsorship in all of our ball games, football and basketball. And again, it will not cost the system.
It's just like getting a gift for $150,000?
Yes.
All right.
We have an associate, we've been using them for probably 20 years. Again, their trainers are being kind of donated to them. Now, again, it's just a sponsorship and won't cost the system.
All right.
And you said that was Jackson?
Jackson Hospital, this one here. Well, thank you very much for the good news. July 2018 financial statement, Mr. Arthur Watts.
Mr. Watts, thank you for coming back to Montgomery. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Moore. You should have before you the financial statement for the month of July.
In the packet, in the envelope.
First, let me just state what the financial statement contains, and I'd like to just explain a few things. First, there's an explanation of financial data. that's just a general overview of our financial standing. Secondly, there's a snapshot analysis, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And it also provides an overview of the district's financial position. Then there's the monthly budget percentage sheet, which shows each month in the percentage of each month. In a perfect world, for example, the 6th month would be 50%, because you have 6 months out of 12 months. So 6 months would be 50%. We're in the 10th month now, which is 83.33% of the fiscal year. So when we look at our revenues or expenditures during the year, we're looking to see whether we're within that or within that particular range. If we're way above that range as it relates to our expenditures, we know we have some problems, and we know that you guys are going to ask me some questions. But why are our expenditures so high? Why are we so far beyond the percentage that our expenditure report shows? Also, you have the combined financial statements. One of those combined financial statements is the district's balance sheet. That speaks to the district's financial position as of July of 2018. Then you will have the combined statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance. And I'll talk about each of these just a second. That is more like, in private industry, more like an income statement, which lists your income, your expenses, and then whether you have a profit or not. And then lastly, you have a definition of accounting terms. This just gives the board an overview of what some of these terms mean that are listed on the financial statement. And lastly, a check register accountability report, which is a report that we also post on the district's website. It's a listing of all checks that the district writes during the month of July, or for the month of July, since this is the financial statement that we're presenting this afternoon. If you return to, board members, the financial information general fund snapshot analysis, in looking at the actual, we see that we have a beginning fund balance of $15,570,000. Total revenues of thus far, as of July, of $187 million. Expenditures of $186 million. Other fund sources, that is basically for the sale of real estate. I think we sold Georgia, Washington, along with the sale of some buses that we sold earlier in the year. So that's what that is. So that's $11.7 million. And so therefore, you have an ending fund balance of about $28 million. Now, if you return to the financial statement, Exhibit F1A, that's the combined balance sheet. And again, this speaks to the district's financial position as of July of 2018. We notice that our total assets in the general fund are $28,250,000. Our liabilities of $80,590,000, with a total fund balance of $28,170,000. What I want to point out, though, as it relates to this fund balance of $28,170,000, that $11 million of that is for those sale of those fixed assets, which is the sale of Georgia, Washington, and the sale of those buses. And we all know that those are one-time revenue, so we want to be mindful of that. Also, we see about two lines up, something says reserve fund balance at about $7.6 million. Those are open purchase orders. These are purchase orders that we've already sent to vendors, and so when those bills come in, we'll have to pay those bills. So if I were to take that $11 million that is one-time funding, and it's $7 million, which are these are obligations because these are open purchase orders that we're going to have to pay the bills when they come in, then that's a little above $18 million. So if I subtract that from the $28 million fund balance, then we see that we have some problems, some things that we're going to have to address at some point. turn the page to the combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, which is the very next page. This is the, what in the private industry, most of us determine as an income statement. Again, you have your revenues, your expenditures, and your changes in fund balance. First, you have your state sources, and this is mostly money that we get from the state's foundation program. Of course, what you know is our largest source of revenue. Our federal source is about $273,000 more ROTC funds. Other local sources, about $50 million, ad valorem taxes and sales taxes are most of our local sources. But we see total revenues of about $187 million. Then we see our total expenditures of $186 million. First, we have instructional services at about $112 million. And of course, instructional services are expenditures mostly related to the interaction between our teachers and students. So any expenditure related to that teacher providing instruction to the student will be termed instructional services. Therefore, teacher salaries and benefits, that would be the major expenditure type of instructional services. Teacher material and supplies would be instructional services. So those expenses related to that teacher providing instruction to the student directly are termed instructional services. Then you have instructional support services. These are the individuals or expenditures related to those personnel that provide support to both the teachers and students. For example, principals. Principals provide support for both the teachers and students. Assistant principals, counselors, nurses, all of those provide some support to both teachers and students. So those would be termed instructional support services. And again, the majority of those expenditures would be the salaries and benefits of the staff. Operation is, yes,
Can I ask you one thing before
Sure.
you get past this? Maybe I missed it.
okay.
You were telling us the 11 million came from the sale of Georgia Washington and the buses.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're bringing it back over here on the second page of the fund sources, but then just below that you have other fund usage here. So how does, and you said this 11 million was a one-time thing, so
Yes, ma'am.
where are you going to figure that in on this sheet?
Okay, right here, as I go down and talk about these various expenditures, you see
Right.
the auxiliary expenditures, operational maintenance, and so forth, then you have your
Yeah.
total expenditures.
That's
Then you
what
have
I'm
what is
looking
called other fund sources and other fund uses. And this
Right.
$11.8 million, that is that one-time funding.
Right, that's what I'm
one-time
asking.
funding. And
But-
so when I look at my beginning fund balance, you see the beginning fund balance of $15,570,000.
Right.
If I add that to the excess revenues and other sources over expenditures, that would give me my fund balance. However, contained in the excess revenues and other sources is that one-time funding.
Okay. So you're gonna pull it out when you get
Yes,
over.
ma'am. So if I were to pull that out again, if I were to pull that $11 million out of this $28 million, that leaves $17 million.
Right.
But I also know I have over $7 million in open purchase orders.
Right.
So that's what, we're looking at a little bit less than about $10 million, true unreserved fund balance.
Okay. I'm clear now, but it was just a little confusing.
Yes, ma'am. And I'd like to, at some point, go over this entire thing with the board, maybe in a work session, where I can kind of get a little bit more detail about each of these particular line items and kind of explain exactly what goes into these.
Okay. It's open. Any meeting we have is open. Any meeting we have is open.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not a problem.
Again, then you have operation and maintenance service, and we all know what that is. These are expenditures related to keeping all of our buildings and schools both secure, safe, and comfortable. So the maintenance department, I think Mr. Leva Kent was just up, his maintenance department will be part of operation and maintenance. All of the utilities that we pay, that would be part of operation and maintenance. So all expenditures related to that, all our custodial staff throughout the district, that would be operation and maintenance, their salaries and benefits. You also have auxiliary services, about $8.2 million. This is more so transportation. These are auxiliary services. Very important to a school district, they're termed auxiliary services. General administrative, we know that's mainly the superintendent's office, the board, finance office, those particular offices that support the school district. Capital outlay, of course, that's the capital expenditure, the building and renovations of schools. Debt service is more paying long-term debt. You know, we do have some bond issues that we are paying the principal and interest on that particular debt. And lastly, again, we see our other fund sources that Ms. Brown just spoke about, where we have other fund sources about $11.8 million. Again, that is those one-time funding, sale of the buses, the sale of the real estate. And of course, therefore, we have about $12.6 million excess revenues over expenses. Again, this excess revenues over expenses consists of that $11 million one-time funding. So we do have an ending fund balance of about $28 million, but of course, again, we know what is made up of that. I think the next sheet is pretty much the same thing, but it just has the budget listed with that. It has the budget, but those actually are exactly the same number that I just went over. Mr. President.
Thank you very much for your report. I have a question, Dr. Moore.
Yes, thank you for that report. It was very good. So my question has to do, I think, with auxiliary services, that it's recommended that be at about 5%.
Well,
is that, where are we?
Auxiliary services usually run about 5 to 7%. Now, the administrative services, I did want to speak to administrative.
Yeah, administrative, thank you.
The State Department of Education recommends that administrative services do not exceed 5% of school district. I did say that was one of the first things I wanted to look at when I got here, because, you know, a lot of times, Mr. President, you hear people saying that, you know, you're top heavy, you have so many people in central office and so forth. But I looked at our administrative services, it was a little bit less than 4%. A little bit less than 4%. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have a little fluff in some other areas that we really need to look at, but administrative was a little less than 4%. So
Yeah, I knew it was 5% for, you know, the central office.
that's correct. The state recommends that it not exceed 5%.
Not exceed.
Yes.
And Mr. President, if I may, I was looking at the revenue coming in, and I've noticed our local taxes, of course, they're going to fluctuate.
Right.
And I've noticed that there's been a decrease in that. So is that going to play a part of us trying to adjust for those fluctuations as well as we move forward and putting budgets together?
Yes, ma'am. The thing about local revenue, now we do receive sales taxes, and that amount's going to be around the same each month. However, our property taxes or ad valorem taxes, they do fluctuate. You receive the majority of your property taxes during the months of November through January. Sometimes it may extend to February, but from November through February, most of your ad valorem taxes or property taxes are already in. Therefore, you may see a large excess of revenues over expenditures within those months. But that's because we got that influx of monies in. However, we have to be mindful, though, that those monies are already budgeted for the following months. So we have to be careful about that. I've seen before where people see all of that money in at one time, they say, hey, we can spend now, but those monies are budgeted for those latter months because those ad valorem taxes, you won't collect those again until the next year.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Watts, is there a proposed date for budget, Dr. Moore? Budget hearing?
We actually talked about that today, so we have a couple of dates. In September 1 would be our normal meeting on the 11th, and then we'll add one more probably during that week so that we can meet our deadline.
Yes, we do want to meet the deadline. It's a deadline that the state implements that all budgets must be due by the 15th. Of course, it's the 17th this year because the 15th is on a Saturday. And I truly want to get this budget in on time, not just to meet the state guidelines, but we also want advanced ed to see that we are meeting deadlines, that we're doing the things that they are requiring us to do at the same time. So Dr. Moore and I, we spoke about this, and we understand that there is a board meeting, a board work session on September the 11th. And if it's possible that we can have another meeting sometime later that week, whatever is convenient for the board, if there's a convenience, then we'd like to get that in so that we can present that budget to the state on time.
Matter of fact, we're supposed to have 2 budget hearings, right?
Yes,
Before it's gone.
that's what we'd like to do. We'd like to do the first budget hearing on September 11th, and the next budget hearing at whatever date.
Before the 17th.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right, okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Advanced ed. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ray. Advanced Ed Consulting Services, Statement of Work, Dr. Lynette Nettles.
I think there's
One more, for
Amendment?
you.
Which
Is
one?
that, did you do both of
I
yours?
thought you did that. You didn't do it?
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, he didn't do the amended piece.
Go ahead.
Each year, each school district is required to do an amended budget. This amended budget is for fiscal year 2018. And the reason for this amended budget is for us to add our fiscal year 17 carryover funds. And what that is the district received allocations from the state via the federal government during 2017, fiscal year 2017. We didn't expend all of those funds. However, we don't want to lose those funds, so we are asking the state, hey, will you amend our budget and accept these carryover funds that we are recognizing currently? So that's what we're doing. So let's just say that we have $1 million that was allocated to us out of a particular fund source in 2017. Let's say we spent $800,000. But we don't want to send that $200,000 back because we know we really need those funds. So we're recognizing those funds in the amended budget in 2018 so that the state approved that and we can expend those funds as well.
Mr. Watts, how are we doing with CNP funds this year?
CNP funds, well, as you know, we did withhold some of the pass-through this year. We won't be able to do that for 2019. The CNP, they are going to need that particular support to meet the salary and other food obligations. So we won't be able to do that this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, Advanced Ed Consultant Services, Statement of Work, Dr. Lynette Nettles.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You should have before you a copy of a consulting services statement of work. And that statement of work is an agreement between Advanced Ed and Montgomery Public Schools. That statement of work represents a collaborative effort between Advanced Ed, the State Department, and our school system to conduct Elliott observations in 15 schools. And what that does is allows that data to be received from those 15 schools and creates a platform for us to provide professional development, to determine what that professional development is, and then to plan and implement that professional development in all of our schools across the school system. The Elliott observations are not teacher observations. Those observations focus on student engagement. So the focus is on the students to see how the students are engaging with the content, with the teachers, with each other in real life situations, to ensure that students interact with content as opposed to teachers completely dominating the conversation of content. So those Elliott observations will result in a positive outcome for our system because it allows Advanced Ed to see that we are looking at ways to improve our learning environments across the system. So although the observations will be in only 15 schools, those 15 schools represent schools across all districts and magnet, elementary, middle, it covers the whole spectrum so that we can create a data pool and then provide professional development for our teachers.
I have a question.
Question.
This $3,850 per day, Now where does that fit in with the total amount of $4,480? Because it's saying $16 per person times 70 people times 4 meetings. So is this to be combined, or it's just $3,850 a day for who?
You have
The
one statement
contract.
of work or two.
I'm looking at your contract.
That's just the total,
That's total.
the
Okay,
3,000.
The total
The
is
total is
3,000.
3,000, not in excess of that. That's all.
But, no, I'm looking, can I say what I'm looking at?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
y'all tell me what I'm looking at. It says here, whereas the MCBOE shall compensate the contractor in the amount of $3,850 per day for professional services described herein. And I was just wondering if that $3,850 is just for the contractor per day, or this total amount of $4,480. If you look at the first one.
Ms. Bryce, can I come see what you're looking at?
Yeah, you're looking at a different contract.
Second contract.
item on the agenda.
It's right
Okay,
here.
it's right behind.
Yeah, it's right behind.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
different.
This one is
item.
3,000.
Okay,
This one is 38. This one is 3, single sheet.
okay, now this
And this one
contract
is
is
38.
separate. So
That's a separate contract.
That's a different
Okay,
item
so-
on the agenda.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Ms. Bryce, you're scaring me now.
Right. I'm scared myself.
Trying to find out where all that
Figure
money's
the
coming
line,
from.
but
I know
line
that's
is
right.
bigger.
So that's just a one-time $3,000
Yes,
for
ma'am.
this
Okay,
particular
okay.
service?
It was
Okay.
right there together, and it said contract,
Consultant.
so.
We just
Okay.
appreciate you
bad.
watching.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
Okay.
So you don't,
I scared myself.
so
Okay.
you've answered your own question?
Yeah, well, you answered it. I just saw contract here, and this says consultant services, and then they were talking about the contractor, so my bad.
Okay.
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 We're good?
Thank you, Dr. Nelly. Next, a proposal to Montgomery Public Schools Quality Questioning Institute, Dr. Debbie Cook.
Maybe that's what this is.
That's what this is.
That's what this is.
I'd like to talk to you, you should have in your packet some information about the
Oh,
Quality
okay.
Questioning
Thank you.
Institute. We are attempting to work with Alabama Best Practices Center. Title II funds will be used exclusively to pay for this contract.
That's
We would
different.
have 4 full-day sessions with 2 facilitators, Kathy Gassenheimer and Jackie Walsh. During those full-day sessions, the first morning, the first half of the day, the work would be addressing priorities 4 and 5. In priority 4, we would be addressing directives 1, 2, and 4, and in priority 5, we would be addressing directive 2. And I'm so glad I came right after Dr. Nettles, because this just dovetails right into student engagement. And that's what the Elliott is looking at. The afternoons of each of those 4 days would be spent with the teams from each elementary school working on how they're going to implement the new learning in their classroom, as well as to turn the new learning around in their buildings. Also within this agreement, Kathy Gassenheimer and Jackie Walsh will come into our schools and work with the teachers side by side and do coaching. So we have a robust system of professional development that's both ongoing and supported with coaching with this proposal. What questions do you have?
Questions?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you.
This is at Franklin Covey, Client Sales, Ms. Catherine Rogers.
Good evening. Hello. Thank y'all so much for providing me with this opportunity to share with you the importance of you approving this contract for us. I'm the principal at Rebecca Primary School. As you know, it's a K-2 school here in Montgomery, and our mission at Rebecca Primary is creating leaders in learning and in life. It is our focus to educate the whole child, not just academically, but the whole child. And the Leader in You process is a whole school transformation, which applies Stephen Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people, but in our case, it's 7 habits of happy kids. And so this transformation process promotes a culture where every child and every adult can find their leadership ability. When I say every adult, I mean from our custodial staff to our lunchroom staff. All of our stakeholders play an important part in this role. process. It focuses on 3 principles of teamwork, collaboration, and responsibility, and 3 school needs, which is leadership, culture, and academics. They combine each other. So our faculty has really taken the time over the past few years to see if this would be a good fit for us. We started by talking with some other schools in MPS, Garrett Elementary and Chisholm Elementary have both started this process. They've received grants, and that's why I'm asking you to approve our contract because the grants no longer exist. But we've talked with them, we've gone on site visits to other schools and other districts to see how this process has benefited their students with the same demographics that we have. Book study, I've sent some of my leadership teams to a conference. So it's important for us, Ms. Grace and I, as administrators, to have our buy-in of our faculty. You know, that's the only way it's going to work. In the summer, we did a 2-day workshop where we ourselves really delve into those 7 habits because if we don't model them, our students will not. So we're ready, and what we need from you is just to approve this contract, and what we'll get from that contract is we'll get support from a coach who's actually a formal principal of a leader in these schools, so they'll be providing coaching support for my faculty. We'll also receive online access to materials that we'll need to make this program successful, and then regional training opportunities for staff to go out and do this. So, you know, we want to empower our students to be leaders in life, like our mission says, and then also to empower our faculty members to find their leadership abilities. And the 7 habits can help us do that. I also encourage you all to follow us on Twitter. Our hashtag is Little Leaders, because anything we do, we follow our little leaders. But we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we're on Instagram. Rebecca Primary, you can find us, and you'll see the great things that are going on. And I know this is important, it's making an impact, because on Friday, we had the kickoff celebration for the 7 habits. And when I was on the bus late Friday afternoon, a little kindergartner came up to me and she's like, Ms. Rogers, thank you so much for the 6 habits. So, it's really 7, but,
She
you know,
got
they're
6, that's
excited
okay.
about it, and we want them to be excited about coming to school. So, y'all have any questions?
I just want to thank you. I have every school across the state that I've met with that implements this loves it. It has changed the culture and climate, and I just thank you so much for embracing it. And you are totally right. It has to be a complete buy-in with all of your faculty and staff. And thank you for being that leader that can lead them and do that.
It's a group effort, but we love our babies, our little leaders.
That's right.
Well, Mr. President, if I may.
Go on.
Oh, but this is representation of District 7. I just wanted to point that out. They're so innovative. I have the pleasure of just listening to all the things that they want to bring to their schools, and I'm always supportive. They take time and answer my phone calls, or they'll call me and let me know what's going on. So thank you, Mr. Rogers, for really schooling me on it. And I was so excited, and I'm excited for the experiences that your students will have at Rebecca Primary.
And Miss Grayson is hiding back there, but they are a team.
And Miss Grayson, sorry.
Okay, well, thank you again.
Good job, Bill. I need Miss Rogers.
The next item on our agenda will be the executive session, it's like real property. The board will now go into executive session to discuss real property. We should be in executive session about 15 minutes. During the executive session, no votes will be taken. So I guess we'll move on to
You have to have a vote.
Oh, let's have a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we go into executive session to discuss real property with no vote coming out of the
Second.
session.
It's been moved and properly second that we go into executive session. Is there any discussion? None discussion. Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It is unanimous. 6. Okay? Let's go.
I forgot to ask how long of a contract. Oh, they're gonna pay us up front, so it don't matter.
Yeah, let's agree with the.
Yeah.
At this time, we will we'll now convene the regular board meeting. No votes were taken during the executive session. Next item on the agenda will be the consider for approval, and Dr. Moore.
I recommend approval of the salary schedule, which includes the 2.5% raise.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the salary schedule that includes the 2.5% raise.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve the salary schedule, which includes 2.5% raise. There is discussion. Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It's unanimous, 6 board members.
I recommend approval of the board minutes for July 31, 2018.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the minutes for July 31st, 2018.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we adopt the board minutes July 31st, 2018. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It is unanimous.
Mr. Porterfield, I had to abstain. I
Huh?
didn't raise my hand.
What did you say?
She abstained.
Oh, I didn't see you. You
Because I
abstained?
wasn't here. I was stuck in
Oh,
Dallas.
you were not here. Okay, that's fine.
for that
Abstention, abstention,
horrible
one abstention.
cancellation of the flight.
I recommend approval of the personnel report, certified personnel, but please pull number 32 and 76.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of the certified personnel report with the exclusion of item 32 and 76.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve the superintendent's recommendation of the personnel report certified with the exclusion of 32 and 76. There any discussion?
Yes. Could you clarify? I guess I had heard that we had gotten, that we were not going to use graduation coaches anymore. Did I just hear that? Because I saw that on here.
I think there was maybe a particular location where they might not be using graduation course.
Okay, and could somebody, I saw another accountability interventionist, somebody moved from an English teacher to an accountability. Could you tell me what that is again? Yeah, I just forgot what it was.
Remember, that's one of those Title I positions that they're gonna look at reading and motor, or language arts, or math. Any of those, because those are our accountability areas, to make sure that the students are getting what they need as far as instruction, the teachers are prepared to deliver that.
Okay, and didn't you say that if it doesn't work out, that's just a one-year deal?
1 year.
This is a Title I position, all Title I positions like we
Yeah.
discussed, we will review it annually. If you like, I'll send you that through email, I'll send you that to job description.
Would you? I'd appreciate it. And how many we have?
Well, this depends. Right now, we're still hiring. We're not allowing principals to hire into all of their regular units because we're not going to more because things are supplanting. So it just depends. If they have their jobs filled, we'll probably have 5 or 6 unless they change their budgets.
I mean, one question here is if we have a shortage of teachers, is it, I thought we needed an English teacher somewhere.
The situation is they cannot fill the Title I position until they can backfill the other. Does that make sense? For
Well,
example,
I guess my question is why are we taking an English teacher that we would need and putting them in an accountability position?
Well, the thing is, we would still have to transfer that teacher to another place, and depending on who that teacher is, it would invoke some other rights that teacher would have. We can't prevent someone from a job.
And this is also under Title I, a school by school sort of funding piece. So that once that particular school fills in all of the persons needed, then they can get into their Title I hires, so to speak.
And we are really watching because supplanting could become a problem. We make sure that if you're moving this person, and that's one of your foundation units, that you can replace that person, then you can have that Title I position. Does that make sense?
So really, there's no changes from what you told us when you explained this last.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind the board also that one of the things that Advanced Ed wanted us to do was build capacity in the leadership in our people, so we would not forego a good teacher leader to move up in an accountability spot and hire someone out of district. You try to take care of your in-house people first, Mr.
That's
Chairman.
correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Roll, I have to say I agree with that, and I've heard from teachers who are looking for those opportunities to do leadership, to be in a leadership role, and then it goes back to what we are trying to do, build the leaders from within.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Okay, item D.
Oh, we got to vote on that one.
Did we not carry
Did
the
we,
vote?
we didn't vote on it, did we?
No.
Oh, okay, that was the discussion. Okay, those in favor, let's see by show of hands. Okay, 6. Go ahead.
All right, I recommend approval of the personnel report, support personnel.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the personnel report for support personnel.
Second.
Oh, it has been moved and properly second that we approve the support personnel report. I said, in discussion, right? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It is 6 unanimous. Okay?
I recommend approval of the 2018 amended budget.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation on the 2018 amended budget.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of the FY 2018 amended budget. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It's unanimous, 6.
I recommend approval of the bid report.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the bid report.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the bid report. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It's unanimous, 6.
I recommend approval of the ATBE automobile renewal FY 2018-19.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the ATBE automobile renewal FY 2018-2019.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the ATBE automobile renewal FY 2018-19. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It is unanimous.
I recommend approval of the ATBE general liability renewal FY 2018-19.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the ATBE general liability renewal FY 2018-19.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of ATBE general liability renewal FY 2018-19. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It's unanimous.
I recommend approval of the Central Alabama Metal and Roofing Company.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Central Alabama Metal and Roofing Company.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of the Central Alabama Metal and Roofing Company. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It's unanimous.
I recommend approval of Rehab and Associates.
Mr. President, I recommend that we adopt Rehab and Associate as recommended by our superintendent.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of Rehab and Associates. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. And it's unanimous.
I recommend approval of the Franklin Covey client sales.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the recommendation of the superintendent for the Franklin Covey client sales.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the Franklin Covey client sales. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It is unanimous.
I recommend approval of the purchasing sales agreement, Harrison Center.
Mr. President, I recommend that we accept the superintendent's recommendation on the purchasing sales agreement.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of the purchase and sales agreement, Harrison Center. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. 6 unanimous.
I recommend approval of the Advanced Ed Consulting Services Statement of Work.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the Advanced Ed Consultant Services Statement of Work.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of the Advanced Ed Consultant Services Statement of Work. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by show of hands. It is unanimous.
I recommend approval of the proposal to Montgomery Public Schools Quality Questioning Institute.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the proposal to the Quality Questioning Institute.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to propose to Montgomery Public Schools Quality Questioning Institute. There is discussion. Those who are in favor, let's see by a show of hands. It is unanimous.
And, okay, go
Want to
ahead.
do that one?
PD.
P, go ahead, Mary.
Mr. President, I move that we schedule a meeting on Friday, and I think the consensus was 12 o'clock.
No.
Friday to nominate and vote for Durden Dean's replacement, and we will be in compliance with section 16-8-6.
Mr. President, just to make sure that we follow the rules, we need to
Do the what?
you know, where we have to have at least 5 of us. We've got to, come on. Carla.
Two-thirds.
You know what
vote.
I'm talking about?
Yes, 2/3 vote.
But we've got to vote to put it on there first, because we didn't do that
Yeah.
before.
You
So,
have to have-
I move that we, include in our consider for approval a number P, dealing with scheduling a meeting on Friday to nominate and vote for Durden Dean's replacement.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and properly second that we add P. Those who are in favor, is there a discussion first?
No.
Those who are in favor, let's see by a show of hands. It's unanimous.
Now,
Mary.
ready?
Okay, now I move that we have a meeting, we schedule a meeting on Friday at 12 to nominate and vote for Durden Dean's replacement in compliance with vacancies for the school code under section 16-86.
I'll second that. So we're doing it at noon, right?
Yeah. It has been moved and properly second that we schedule a meeting to replace the seat for the deans on Friday, 12 noon. Is there any discussion? Those who are in favor, let's see by a show of hands. It is unanimous. At this time, our next meeting will be Tuesday, September 11th, 2018, 5 p.m. We'll have a work session at central office, and the next one will be September 25th, 2018, at 5 o'clock at central office. This meeting is now adjourned.